What's something about your culture nobody knows? In my culture, every family has what we call a keeper. I grew up thinking it was just a tradition, like how some families pass down recipes or jewelry. The keeper is usually the oldest living relative, and their job is to maintain the family shrine in their basement. My grandmother was our keeper for as long as I could remember. Every Sunday, our entire extended family would gather at her house for dinner. After we ate, Grandma would disappear downstairs for exactly 30 minutes while everyone else stayed in the living room, making small talk. Nobody was allowed in the basement except the keeper. That was the rule. When I was 8, I asked my mom what Grandma did down there. She said Grandma was honoring our ancestors, making offerings, keeping our family protected. Standard cultural stuff that didn't seem weird at the time. But looking back now, I remember how quiet everyone would get when Grandma went downstairs. How my aunts and uncles would glance at their watches. How my dad's leg would bounce nervously until we heard her footsteps coming back up. When I turned 16, something changed in how the adults treated me at these gatherings. My uncle Marcus started asking me strange questions. If I'd been having any dreams about the house. If I felt drawn to the basement door. If I ever heard anything at night. I thought he was messing with me, so I laughed it off, but his face stayed serious. He said that was good, that it meant I probably wasn't the next one. I asked him what he meant by that, and my mom cut in sharply, telling Marcus to stop scaring me with old stories. That night, I noticed something I'd never paid attention to before. After Grandma came back upstairs, her clothes always smelled like earth and something metallic. Not like blood exactly, but similar, and her hands would be shaking slightly as she poured herself tea. When Grandma died last year, the family had to choose a new keeper. That's when the argument started. Nobody wanted to do it. My mom said she couldn't because of her back problems. Uncle Marcus said his work schedule wouldn't allow it. Aunt Patricia said her apartment was too small for the shrine. They went in circles for weeks, each person finding excuses. Finally, my dad volunteered, and I watched my mom's face go pale. She grabbed his arm and said they needed to talk privately. I heard them arguing in the kitchen that night, Mom begging Dad to reconsider, Dad saying someone had to do it or the family would be in danger. Real danger, not the superstitious kind. The transfer ceremony happened on a Sunday. The whole family gathered at Grandma's house, which now belonged to my parents. Dad had to go downstairs alone while everyone else waited. He was down there for 2 hours. When he finally came back up, he looked 10 years older. His hands were dirty, and he was crying. After that, everything got worse. Dad started acting different. He'd have nightmares and wake up screaming. He lost 20 pounds in a month. He'd spend hours in the basement, and sometimes I'd hear him talking to someone down there, but his voice was the only one I could hear. Mom started sleeping in the guest room. One night, I woke up at 3 a.m. and saw Dad standing at my bedroom door, just staring at me. When I asked what he was doing, he said he was checking to make sure I was still me, that the basement sometimes got confused about who belonged upstairs. I started researching our family history, looking for information about this keeper tradition. But I couldn't find anything online. No other families from our culture had anything like this. I called my cousin Andrew, who'd moved to Seattle 5 years ago. He said he left specifically to get away from the keeper tradition, that our family had something wrong with it, something that went back generations. He said the reason nobody wanted to be keeper was because of what you had to do to keep the thing in the basement satisfied. Last week, my dad sat me down and said we needed to talk about my future. He said I was getting close to the age where the basement would start noticing me. He said when he dies, the responsibility would pass to either me or my younger sister Emma. And he needed to prepare me for what that actually meant, what the keeper really does down there every week. But what he told me about our family's tradition made me realize everything I knew about my culture was a lie. And that's when I understood why so many relatives had cut contact with the family over the years. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Dad's hands are shaking as he sets a cup of tea in front of me. The kitchen feels too small suddenly, the walls pressing in as the weight of what he's about to say hangs between us. Outside, the sky has gone dark. Emma is at a friend's house for a sleepover, and Mom is working the night shift at the hospital. It's just us. What does the keeper really do? I ask, my voice steadier than I expected. Dad sits across from me, his eyes sunken and bloodshot. He looks like he hasn't slept in days. Maybe he hasn't. There's something in our basement, he says finally. Something old. Something that's been with our family for generations. I wait for him to continue, my heart hammering against my ribs. It's an entity. I don't know what to call it exactly. It's not a ghost or a demon in the religious sense. It's something else. Something that existed before people had words for such things. What does it want? I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know the answer. Dad's eyes meet mine, and I see something there I've never seen before. Fear. Blood, he whispers. It requires blood to stay dormant. Weekly offerings. That's what the keeper does. My stomach turns. Grandma was killing people? Not always people. Dad says quickly. Animals work for a while. But eventually, yes, the keeper has to find suitable offerings. People who won't be missed. Drifters, mostly. The room spins around me. All those Sunday dinners. All those times Grandma went downstairs while we made small talk. All those times her clothes smelled of earth and something metallic when she came back up. It gets worse with each generation. Dad continues. The entity grows stronger, requires more. Your grandmother managed with one offering a month in her early years. Now I need to go down weekly. I push my chair back, the legs scraping loudly against the floor. This is insane. You're telling me our family has been kidnapping and murdering people for generations? It's not murder, Dad says defensively. It's survival. If we don't feed it, it comes for us instead. For our family. And what happens when you die? I'm supposed to take over? Become a serial killer to keep something happy? Dad reaches across the table, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. Your blood is special. I've seen it react to you. When you walk past the basement door, I can hear it stirring. You could control it better than I can, better than anyone has. I yank my arm away. I'm not doing this. This isn't some cultural tradition. This is evil. If you don't, Emma will have to, Dad says quietly. The basement will choose one of you. I stand up so quickly my chair falls backward. Stay away from Emma. Stay away from me. I grab my keys and wallet from the counter and run for the door. Dad calls after me, but I don't look back. I get in my car and drive, no destination in mind, just away from that house and the horror beneath it. At a gas station, I pull over and call Andrew in Seattle with shaking hands. I need to know about the keeper, I say when he answers, not bothering with hello. There's a long silence. Then he told you. Is it true about the thing in the basement? The sacrifices? Andrew sighs. Every word. That's why I left. I couldn't be part of it anymore. Why didn't you tell someone? The police? And tell them what? That my family has an ancient blood-drinking entity in their basement? That generations of keepers have been feeding it human sacrifices? They'd lock me up. I lean my head against the steering wheel. What do I do? They take Emma and run, Andrew says immediately. Come to Seattle. The farther you are from that house, the weaker its pull will be. I can't just kidnap my sister. Then you'll lose her, Andrew says bluntly, one way or another. Either she becomes the next keeper or... He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. I check into a motel using cash, paranoid that Dad might track my credit cards. I take a scalding hot shower, trying to wash away the horror of what I've learned, but it clings to me like a second skin. Around midnight, there's a knock at my door. I freeze, then slowly approach and look through the peephole. It's Dad. I don't open the door. Go away. Please, he says, his voice muffled. I just want to talk, to explain better. There's nothing to explain. You're murdering people. You don't understand what's at stake, he pleads. Our entire family, everyone you love. Against my better judgment, I open the door a crack, chain still in place. What I see makes me gasp. Dad looks wrong. His skin has a grayish tinge, and there are dark veins visible beneath the surface, especially around his eyes. His pupils are dilated so much I can barely see his irises. What's happening to you? I whisper. It's feeding time, he says, his voice strained. I'm due in the basement. It's getting impatient. Dad, you need help. We can end this. We can end this. Eat his alt. He laughs, a hollow sound that doesn't match his face. End it? You can't end it. It's part of us now, part of our blood. He utters needily. His hand shoots through the gap in the door, grabbing my wrist. His skin feels cold and slightly damp. It wants to meet you, he says, his voice changing, deepening. It's curious about you. I slam the door on his arm. He howls in pain and withdraws it, and I quickly lock the door and back away. You can't run forever, he shouts, his voice alternating between his own and something else, something that makes my skin crawl. The basement knows you're sent now. It will find you. I hear him stumbling away, and I slide down against the wall, hugging my knees to my chest. I know what I have to do. I have to go back for Emma. I can't leave her there with him, with that thing. Whatever our family has been feeding in that basement for generations ends with me. I won't become the next keeper. I won't let Emma become it either. I have to break the cycle, even if it means confronting what waits below. I drive back to the house at dawn, my car crawling up our street like I'm approaching a minefield. Emma needs me. That's the only thought keeping me moving forward instead of flooring it in the opposite direction. The house looks normal from the outside, white siding, blue shutters, mom's hydrangeas along the walkway. But now I know what lurks beneath that facade of suburban normalcy. I find Emma in the kitchen eating cereal, her legs swinging beneath the counter stool. She looks up and smiles, completely unaware of the horror that lives beneath her feet. Hey, where were you? She asks, milk dribbling down her chin. Just needed some air, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Is Dad around? She shrugs. In the basement, I think. He's been down there all morning. My skin prickles at the words. All morning. What has he been doing down there for hours? Emma, how would you feel about staying at Aunt Karen's for a few days? She wrinkles her nose. Why? Did I do something wrong? No, of course not. I force a smile. I just thought it might be fun. Before she can answer, I hear the basement door open. Dad emerges, looking more composed than last night, though dark circles rim his bloodshot eyes. He stops when he sees me, surprise briefly flashing across his face before settling into something more guarded. You came back, he says. For Emma, I reply coldly. He nods like he expected this. Emma, go upstairs and get ready for school. Once she's gone, Dad approaches me slowly, like I'm a frightened animal that might bolt. I'm glad you're here. We need to talk more about this. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not becoming the next keeper, and neither is Emma. It's not that simple. It is that simple. We end it, now. Dad laughs, a hollow sound that raises the hair on my arms. You think we haven't tried? You think generations of our family just accepted this without trying to stop it? I wait, saying nothing. Go to the attic, he says finally. Look in the old steamer trunk behind the Christmas decorations. Read the journal with the black leather cover. Then we'll talk. After Dad leaves for work and Emma for school, I climb to the attic. The steamer trunk is exactly where he said it would be, buried behind boxes of holiday ornaments. Inside, beneath layers of yellowed papers and faded photographs, I find the journal. The binding cracks as I open it, releasing the smell of aged paper and something else, something like the metallic scent that clung to Grandma's clothes after her basement visits. The first entry is dated the 17th of May, 1873. I have made a terrible bargain. The entity beneath our home has offered prosperity in exchange for sustenance. My crops were failing. My children were starving. What choice did I have? It requires so little, just a few drops of blood each month. I can spare this small sacrifice to save my family. I flip forward several pages. The 3rd of November, 1873. The entity grows stronger, hungrier. Blood from my arm no longer satisfies it. Today I brought it a rabbit. The screams. I did not know rabbits could make such sounds. My hands shake as I turn to the final entries. The 28th of February, 1874. God forgive me. The drifter would not be missed, I told myself. The entity feasted, and in return, our fortunes have multiplied. My children will never know hunger again, but at what cost to my soul? The 15th of March, 1874. I have tried to break our pact. The consequences were swift and terrible. My youngest, sweet Thomas, wandered toward the basement door last night. I found him with his hand on the knob, eyes vacant. When I pulled him away, he had no memory of how he got there. The entity is sending a message. I cannot escape our bargain. I close the journal. Bile rising in my throat. 150 years. My family has been feeding this thing for 150 years. That afternoon, I install small wireless cameras around the basement door while Dad is still at work. I need evidence of what's happening. I need to see what I'm up against. For 2 nights, nothing happens. On the 3rd night, my phone alerts me to movement at 2:17 a.m. I watch the grainy footage in horror as Dad leads a stumbling figure down the basement stairs. The person's movements are uncoordinated, drugged. I can't see their face. The basement door closes behind them. 37 minutes later, Dad emerges alone, his shirt darkened with what can only be blood. I vomit into my wastebasket, then delete the footage. I can't risk Dad finding it. The next morning, I check the local local news for missing persons. Nothing. The entity knows how to choose its victims, people no one will look for. That night, I'm awakened by a soft thud in the hallway. I creep to my door and peek out to see Emma, eyes open but unseeing, walking slowly toward the staircase. Emma, I whisper. She doesn't respond, continuing her sleepwalking journey. I follow her, my heart hammering as she descends the stairs and turns toward the kitchen, toward the basement door. I grab her arm just as her hand reaches for the knob. Emma, wake up! She blinks rapidly, confusion crossing her face. What? Why am I down here? You were sleepwalking, I say, pulling her away from the door. Let's get you back to bed. As I tuck her in, she mumbles, I had a weird dream. Something was calling me. It knew my name. I sit with her until she falls back asleep, then return to my room, shaking. It's happening already. The entity is reaching for her, just like Dad said it would. The next day, Uncle Marcus shows up unexpectedly. Dad is at work, and Emma is at soccer practice. Marcus looks nervous, glancing over his shoulder as he enters. I need to talk to you, he says without preamble, about the keeper situation. I lead him to the kitchen, as far from the basement door as possible. You know about it? Of course I know. I was supposed to be the keeper after your grandmother, not your father. This surprises me. What happened? I refused. Your father volunteered instead. Marcus runs a hand through his thinning hair. I've spent years researching ways to break the pact. I think I found something. Hope flares in my chest. What is it? A ritual. It requires specific items and timing, but it could work. We'd need to... The front door slams. Dad stands in the doorway, his face a mask of fury. What are you doing here, Marcus? He demands. Just visiting my favorite nephew, Marcus says, but his voice wavers. Liar. Dad's voice has that strange dual quality from the motel part him, part something else. You're trying to interfere. Dad, we're just talking, I say, moving between them. Dad's eyes fix on me, pupils dilated unnaturally. You installed cameras. You watched me. You deleted the footage, but the basement knows. It always knows. He moves with unnatural speed, grabbing Marcus by the throat. You were always jealous that it chose me instead of you. It didn't choose you, Marcus gasps. You offered yourself. Dad throws Marcus against the wall with inhuman strength. Marcus crumples to the floor, unconscious. I run for the front door, but Dad intercepts me, dragging me up the stairs to my bedroom. He shoves me inside and locks the door from the outside. You'll stay here until you understand what's at stake, he says through the door. The basement has plans for you. I pound on the door, screaming for help, but no one can hear me. Hours pass, night falls, then I hear it. Emma's voice from somewhere in the house, high and frightened. Dad, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me like that? Then a scream that turns my blood to ice. I redouble my efforts on the door, throwing my body against it until my shoulder throbs. The wood finally splinters around the lock. I burst into the hallway just in time to hear the basement door close with a decisive click. And from below, Emma screams again. I hear the splintered wood of my bedroom door crack as I force my way out, my shoulder throbbing with pain. The hallway is dim, lit only by the nightlight in the bathroom. Uncle Marcus lies crumpled against the wall where Dad threw him, a trickle of blood running from his temple. Marcus, I whisper, kneeling beside him. He groans, his eyelids fluttering but not opening. He's alive at least. I shake him gently, but he's out cold. Emma's scream comes again from below, sending ice through my veins. I've never heard her sound like that, pure terror stripped of all restraint. I sprint down the stairs, taking them 3 at a time, nearly falling as I round the corner into the kitchen. The basement door stands open. In all my years in this house, I have never seen that door left open. Not once. Grandma always closed it immediately. Dad too. The dark rectangle of the doorway seems to breathe, a current of cold air flowing upward from below. I hesitate at the threshold, my body rebelling against what my mind knows I must do. Emma screams again, her voice breaking into sobs. The sound propels me forward. The stairs creak beneath my weight as I descend into darkness. The walls seem to press inward, the air growing thicker with each step. At the bottom, a faint glow emanates from beneath another door, one I've never seen before. This must be the inner chamber, where the keeper performs the rituals. I push the door open and freeze. The room is circular, carved directly from the earth, the walls packed dirt reinforced with ancient wooden beams. Candles burn in iron sconces around the perimeter, casting long shadows that seem to move independently of their sources. In the center stands a stone altar, its surface stained dark with what can only be generations of blood. Emma is strapped to the altar, her wrists and ankles bound with leather restraints that look centuries old. Dad stands over her, a curved knife in his hand. He's wearing a robe I've never seen before, dark fabric embroidered with symbols that hurt my eyes to look at directly. Dad, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Stop this. He turns, and I nearly step back. His face is barely recognizable. The veins beneath his skin have turned black, pulsing visibly. His eyes are completely black now, no whites visible at all. You shouldn't be here, he says, his voice overlaid with that other sound like multiple voices speaking in unison. Not yet, not until the transfer is complete. Let Emma go, I demand, stepping further into the room. The basement needs a keeper, Dad says. You refused. The girl is suitable. She's a child, I protest. She's innocent. Innocence makes the bond stronger. Dad turns back to Emma, who stares at me with terrified eyes. Help me, she whimpers. Please help me. I'm top this call. I take another step forward, and that's when I see it, the entity. Behind the altar, in the shadows that shouldn't be there, something moves. It has no definite shape, just darkness deeper than the absence of light, a void that seems to consume the space around it. Tendrils of blackness extend from its mass, one of them connected to Dad's back, like an umbilical cord. You can feel it, can't you? Dad says, noticing my gaze. It knows you're here. It's always known you. The entity pulses, and I feel an answering throb in my chest, like it's reaching for something inside me. What is it? I whisper. Older than names, Dad replies. It was here before us. It will be here after us, unless it's fed. He raises the knife over Emma, who screams and struggles against her restraints. No, I lunge forward, grabbing Dad's wrist. His skin is ice cold and slick with something that isn't sweat. Take me instead. The entity pulses again, the darkness swelling. Dad freezes, the knife still raised. You offer yourself? The voice that comes from Dad's mouth isn't his anymore. It's ancient, resonant, like stones grinding together. You would become the keeper willingly? Yes, I say without hesitation. Let Emma go. I'll do it. I'll be your keeper. The darkness behind the altar ripples, and I feel a pressure in my mind, like something enormous is considering me. The blood calls, the entity says through Dad, stronger in you than the girl, stronger than any before. Dad's arm lowers slowly, the knife coming to rest at his side. The bargain is accepted. The leather restraints binding Emma suddenly release. She scrambles off the altar, running to me and clinging to my leg. Go upstairs, I tell her, pushing her gently toward the door. Go to Uncle Marcus. Don't look back. But she begins. Go, I shout, and she runs, her footsteps pattering up the wooden stairs. The entity's darkness expands, filling more of the room. A tendril of shadow reaches toward me, touching my right arm. Pain explodes where it makes contact, burning cold that sears through my sleeve and into my flesh. I cry out, dropping to my knees as the darkness leaves a mark, a pattern of interlocking spirals that seems to move beneath my skin. Dad suddenly gasps, his body jerking violently. For a moment, his eyes clear, returning to their normal blue. Run, he says in his real voice, desperate and afraid. It's too strong. I can't hold it back anymore. Run. I won't leave you, I say, reaching for him. The darkness surges, engulfing Dad completely. He screams, a sound of pure agony that cuts off abruptly. The black tendrils wrap around him like a cocoon, pulsing, contracting. When they recede, Dad collapses to the floor, empty-eyed and still. The entity turns its attention fully to me, darkness flowing toward me from all sides. The mark on my arm burns colder, spreading up toward my shoulder. I feel the pressure in my mind intensify, ancient awareness pressing against the boundaries of my consciousness. The transfer has begun. I wake up to the steady beep of machines and the antiseptic smell of hospital disinfectant. My eyelids feel weighted, but I force them open, wincing at the fluorescent lights overhead. It takes a moment to register where I am, a hospital room, sterile and cold. An IV drips clear fluid into my arm, and a heart monitor tracks my pulse with mechanical precision. You're awake. A nurse appears at my bedside checking the monitors. I'll let the doctor know. How long? My voice comes out as a rasp. 3 days, she says, adjusting something on my IV. You've been through quite an ordeal. 3 days, the basement, the entity, Dad, Emma, my sister. I croak, trying to sit up. Where's Emma? Easy there. The nurse gently pushes me back down. Your sister's fine. She's with your mother in the waiting room. Relief washes over me, but it's short-lived as memories flood back the altar, the darkness, Dad's body on the floor. I look down at my right arm, where the entity touched me. Through the hospital gown sleeve, I can see a bandage wrapped around my forearm. What happened to me? I ask. The nurse's expression shifts subtly. The doctor will explain everything. When she leaves, I carefully peel back the bandage. The mark is still there, interlocking spirals of dark lines that seem to shift when I'm not looking directly at them. It's spread about an inch up my arm since the basement. My stomach drops. The door opens and Mom rushes in, her face pale and drawn with exhaustion. Emma follows behind her, looking physically fine but unnaturally quiet. Oh, thank God, Mom says, embracing me carefully around the tubes and wires. We've been so worried. What happened? I ask. How did I get here? Mom glances at Emma, then back to me. Emma called 911. She said you and your father went down to the basement, and there was some kind of accident. When the paramedics arrived, they found you unconscious at the bottom of the stairs. Your father was. Her voice breaks. Dead. I finish for her. She nods, tears spilling. They're saying it was suicide, that he did something to himself down there and you tried to stop him. I look at Emma, who's staring at the floor. Emma, do you remember what happened in the basement? She shakes her head. I remember Dad acting weird, then nothing until I was upstairs with Uncle Marcus. He was hurt too. She doesn't remember. The entity wiped her memory of the altar, the restraints, everything. Part of me is relieved. The police have questions, Mom says quietly, about why your father would do this, about what happened down there. I touch the bandage on my arm. I'll talk to them. Later, a detective comes by. I tell him what I can, that Dad had been acting strange, that I was worried about him, that I went down to check on him and found him already gone. It's not the whole truth, but it's all I can say without sounding insane. He seems satisfied, or at least unable to disprove my story. When I'm finally discharged the next day, Mom drives us home. The house looks exactly the same from the outside, but it feels different, like something is watching from behind the windows. The basement door has been sealed with police tape. We're staying at Aunt Karen's tonight, Mom says, packing some clothes for us. I can't, not yet. I nod, relieved. I don't want to sleep here either, not with what I know lives beneath us. While Mom helps Emma pack, I slip away to my father's study. I need to understand what's happening to me, what this mark means. Dad must have kept records, information about the entity and its keepers. I find nothing in the obvious places, desk drawers, filing cabinets, bookshelves. Then I notice a loose floorboard under the rug, barely visible unless you're looking for it. Beneath it is a metal box with a combination lock. I try my father's birthday, nothing, Grandma's birthday, nothing. Then I try the date of the transfer ceremony, when Dad became keeper. The lock clicks open. Inside are journals dating back decades, some in my grandmother's handwriting, some in Dad's, and a small leather-bound book titled simply The Mark. I flip through it frantically, scanning for information. What I read makes my blood run cold. The mark is the entity's claim, spreading slowly through the keeper's body. As it grows, the entity's influence strengthens. When it reaches the heart, the transformation is complete. The keeper becomes a vessel, no longer human. The book falls from my hands. I have weeks, maybe months, before I lose myself completely. I thought you might find that, and mind terming Tesnix. I thought you might find that. I whirl around to see Uncle Marcus standing in the doorway, a bandage on his temple where Dad threw him against the wall. The mark, I say, rolling up my sleeve to show him. It's spreading. He nods grimly. I know, I've been researching this for years, ever since your grandmother chose your father over me. You said you had a way to break the pact, I remind him. A ritual. Not exactly a ritual, he says, coming into the room and closing the door. More of a sacrifice. I've already offered my blood, I say bitterly. Not blood, Marcus shakes his head. Something more valuable. The entity feeds on blood, yes, but what it truly craves is connection to our world. The house. This house is its anchor. Has been since 1873. Understanding dawns. We need to destroy the house. With the entity trapped inside, Marcus confirms. But it won't be easy. It will fight to survive. That night, after Mom and Emma are asleep at Aunt Karen's, Marcus and I return to the house. We bring gasoline, matches, and determination. The mark on my arm burns cold as we approach, like the entity knows what we're planning. It has to be you, Marcus says as we stand on the porch. You're the keeper now. You have to be the one to end it. I take a deep breath and unlock the door. The house feels alive around us, creaking and settling like it's breathing. We start in the attic, dousing the old journals, the family heirlooms, everything that connects us to this cursed legacy. We work our way down, floor by floor. When we reach the main level, the basement door flies open with a bang. Cold air rushes up the stairs, carrying with it the smell of earth and blood. It knows, Marcus whispers. The darkness from below begins to seep upward, tendrils of shadow creeping along the walls and floor. The mark on my arm feels like ice, the spirals writhing beneath my skin. Now, Marcus urges, handing me the last can of gasoline and a book of matches. Do it now. I pour the gasoline in a trail leading to the basement door, my hands shaking. The shadows reach for me, brushing against my ankles like cold fingers. I strike a match, watching the small flame dance. This ends with me, I say and drop the match. The fire catches instantly, racing along the gasoline trail toward the basement. The shadows recoil from the flames, shrinking back toward the door. A howling sound rises from below. Not quite human, not quite animal, the entities scream of rage and fear. Marcus and I run for the front door as the fire spreads, engulfing curtains and furniture. Outside on the lawn, we watch as the flames consume the house, orange and yellow against the night sky. The mark on my arm burns with impossible cold, then begins to fade as the entity's connection weakens. The neighbors come out of their houses, someone calls the fire department, but it's too late. The house collapses in on itself, the basement with it, burying the entity in flame and rubble. By morning, nothing remains but smoking ruins. The mark on my arm has faded to a pale scar, no longer moving, no longer cold. I feel lighter somehow, like a weight I've carried my whole life without knowing has finally been lifted. 2 weeks later, Emma and I board a plane to Seattle. Andrew meets us at the airport, hugging us both tightly. He doesn't ask questions about what happened. He already knows enough. It's over, I tell him as we drive away from the airport. Really over. Emma looks out the window at the Seattle skyline, her face peaceful. She still doesn't remember what happened in the basement, and I hope she never does. Some family traditions deserve to die, buried and forgotten. As for me, I'll always carry the faint scar on my arm, a reminder of what almost was, but the basement no longer calls to me. The keeper tradition ends with me, the last keeper, who chose to destroy rather than preserve. Our family has a new tradition now. We look forward, not back. We build, not bury, and we never ever go into basements.